Hello, test takers. Welcome back to Exam Prep Solutions. And today we've got a different kind of video. We're going to be going over your ultimate FE exam test day strategy. And if you haven't thought about your FE exam test day strategy or how that relates to your study strategy, this is going to be a great video for you because there's more that goes into taking and succeeding and passing the FE civil exam than just learning all the topic and doing your best on the test. There's a lot more to it. And so that's what we're going to go in here. And this can help you do better on the exam than you anticipated, or by using the right strategy, make it easier to pass the exam. And so that's what we're going to be going over here. And so we're going to be doing a little introduction. We're going to talk about the score needed to pass the FE exam, how to achieve that score, what your test day strategy should be, and then how to customize your studying to pass the exam easily. Can be done. And so a little bit about me and Exam Prep Solutions. I passed the FE and PE exam on first attempts. I've been teaching the practice problem and concept for several years at this point and understand this test-taking process quite thoroughly and have boiled it down to a science to help you pass even easier than I did and easier than your peers and to nail the test and get it done. So let's talk about the score needed to pass the FE exam. Now, most agree that a score somewhere around 70% correct is enough to pass. Now, this is not definitive. Really, it's just sort of a marker I use to help with test strategy. It can be lower or higher. What I think happens with the NCES grading system is they determine the difficulty of the test, and I believe the top 70% end up passing no matter how many problems they got correct. But I think on average, 70% of the answers correct is good enough to pass in most cases, and this is just a metric to use when planning your test taking strategy. So we're just going to roll with this number. Not 100% definitive. This is not the gold standard, but it is good enough for us when determining our test taking strategy, for me and many others. And so we can use this marker for crafting our study schedule and assigning our resources appropriately when it comes to prepping for the FE exam. How do we achieve this score? Well, what is our math to pass the FE exam? And we're going to break it down here. So there are 110 questions on the FE civil exam. So 110 times 0.7 or 70% means you need to answer 77 questions correct in order to pass the exam. We're just going to go with that number. We need to answer 77 questions correct. That means 40 out of 55 on the morning session approximately, and 40 out of 55 on the afternoon session. We're leaving 3 questions worth of buffer room in this case. So we don't just want to aim for the bare minimum. Let's shoot for 80, and then if some things go wrong, we'll still be okay. So those 3 questions there for a buffer when it comes to the exam. Obviously, if you do better, that's okay. But in terms of our study strategy, that's going to be our marker and metric. So when we're taking the test, getting 80 questions correct is our target. And here's how I break it down. Only 25 out of 55 on your first half of the test, you have to be sure about being correct on, or 25 out of 55 you're sure about being correct on in both sessions. Only 25 out of 55 you need to absolutely nail. 10 out of 55 in both the sessions, you're confident, but not like 100% sure about. You're like, I'm pretty sure I did good on this problem. I'm pretty sure I got it, but it's not definitive. The 25 needs to be pretty close to definitive. And then 20 out of the 55 questions, you may have to take some form of an educated or uneducated guess. You may have to straight up guess on these problems, and that's okay. That is part of our strategy. Let's say you nailed those 25. You got 8 out of the 10 that you were confident but not 100% sure on. And then of the 20 that you guessed on, you got 7 of those correct. That means you got 40 questions correct on each session. That's our 80 questions correct, and that is our target. That is our strategy here when it comes to studying for our test. We break it down with the math. It seems a lot less daunting, actually. Because if you think about taking the test, you're like, 110 questions, I need to know all these topics to get all these questions correct. Not necessarily. That's what this is showing, is that if you actually strategically study, you really don't need to know close to a third of the concept super well, and you can still easily pass the test. And this makes it easier for you to focus on topics that you're good at, or get better at topics that you feel like you can get on the test, and make your test taking process so much easier. You only need to know how to answer 35 times 2, 70 questions confidently or somewhat confidently to pass. That really helps narrow it down. You're talking about 40 questions that you don't even really need to have a lot of information on or know the answers. You only need to have 50 topic questions down cold to pass the test. That's less than half. You only need less than half of the problems where you're 100% sure that you got the problem correct to pass the test, right? You don't need to know all 110 questions amazingly well. It's only 50. That makes this thing much more manageable, considering some of the sections on the FE Civil are pretty easy. There's some gimme questions on, and I'll talk about that in a separate video. If you think about sections like the ethics section, right? Those are just gimme problems. And so with that in mind, it's going to be helpful. So we're going to let your test day strategy take care of the rest when determining what to do on this exam. When you're studying, and I'll do more videos on this, aim to study topics and concepts that allow you to hit problem target. So think about the sections on the test that have more problems. Static, soil mechanics, water resources. These topics have a lot of questions. Think about topics that don't have as many questions, okay? Like the probability and statistics section, just not as many questions. And so you don't need to have that one down necessarily. If you do have it down, great, and use that to your advantage. But if you don't, you can focus on topics you do know well. And so this allows you to eliminate problem topics, focus on your strengths. Let's say you're really good at soils and structures. Well, great. You should be able to nail the static section, the structure section, and the soil mechanics. Excellent. That's 3 right there. Maybe even parts of the materials section. You're looking at 35, 40 questions that you're going to have down cold. You're almost at your 50 problem target, right? And so this is the approach when it comes to studying for the exam. Doesn't mean there should be topics that you don't study at all. Maybe in some rare cases, there are topics where you're just so weak on and there's not that many problems. For example, like maybe the dynamics section, where you know that no matter how much study time you're going to put in, it's not going to help. Just ignore them. Put it towards topics that you know you can do well on. And so what's our ultimate test day strategy? When you get to test day, what are we going to do? So here's a common test taking strategy. If you think about your exams in university and such, you go to problem 1, you attempt it, you spend some time solving it, and then you select an answer. This is not the right way to do it on the FEM, in my opinion. What you want to do is what I call the low-hanging fruit concept. And this is the strategy that's going to help you pass the test so much easier than anything you would have anticipated. So we want to grab as much of the low-hanging fruit on the test as possible. And the low-hanging fruit are the problems that you know you can do the best on and you know super well. They're the problems that come up and you go, oh, I know exactly what to do. I know exactly where that equation is in the FE manual, and you get it done in like a minute or less. That's the low-hanging fruit. So we go through a cyclical process of grabbing the most low-hanging fruit, then to the next, and to the next. So find the easiest problems to you to answer first. If you flip to the first problem, and let's say you're bad at, you're not the best at math or whatever, or you get to the static section and you're not great at static. Skip those problems. Get to the problems you're good at. So maybe you're not great at static, but you're just going to nail soils, and more than half the problems are just easy. You can do them in your sleep. Get to those first. Continue to cycle through problems, consistently finding the easiest problem for you to solve. Cycle through all the problems on the test. No, it's not going to waste time because you're going to be more efficient solving problems that you know you can get. I would guess immediately on impossible problems. Problems you had 2 hours, you wouldn't be able to solve. I had problems like this on both the FE and PE. It happens on there on purpose. And it's just going to be topics that you're weak on. It's such a broad exam. It's okay. There's going to be topics that you don't know how to solve. Just take the guesswork out of it and immediately eliminate that as a problem that you're going to spend all this time on. For example, let's say you're not good at water resources problem. You get a really difficult pipe network problem. You know that no matter how much time you were given, it doesn't matter. You're not going to solve it. C, B, whatever you decide the letter is for that, make an educated guess and move on. Don't spend more than 10, 15 seconds on that problem. Because guess what? Maybe there's transportation problems, construction problems, something that you know you can get that maybe will take a little more time to solve, but you know you can get. Spend more time on those. Save problems you know how to solve. Will take you some time, and after you finish solving the low-hanging fruit. And so you're just going through the exam. When I took the FE and PE, I probably went through all the problems in terms of clicking through all the problems 7, 8, 9 times. I'm just constantly cycling through problems until I find the easiest one. Now, you don't want to overdo this, spend too much time bouncing between problems. You're never going to actually solve anything. But the idea is you just go to the next easiest one. And so, it doesn't mean that you only solve problems that are easy. Just go to the next easiest one, the next low-hanging fruit, as I say. So, like, for example, if questions, 15 through 20 were hard, just skip them. Maybe question 21 is super easy. Just get to the easy ones, and you'll find that your wins will start to add up. Remember, you only need 25 out of 55 that you need to know cold in order to pass this thing. Find those 25 problems on that first section. Find them wherever they are and solve them. Get the big wins and move on to the next tier and the next tier. And so the idea is you spend the most time solving problems that are easiest for you to solve and have the greatest chance of getting correct. So time is crucial. Spend it on problems you have a chance at solving and getting correct. So that is my advice. That's a test taking strategy. We have a free guide, how to solve any FE exam problem, because not only should you have a test taking strategy, you should have a strategy for solving every problem on the FE exam. And so we have a 100% free guide. It's in the description box down below. Go ahead and download that to help give yourself an edge. Leave a comment if you have any questions, and we'll see you guys in the next video.